So this video is going to be a little bit shorter, but I have been working on some stuff. Um, a lot of it was the inventory, which I will show you later in this video. That is taking a lot of time because I have no idea what I'm doing and I'm mixing a few different tutorials. But I'll get into that in a little bit. Right now, I have been modeling the arena for where the archery tournament's going to take place. And this is very bare bones right now. I'm just kind of getting the layout. I've still got so many props and decorations and all kinds of stuff to put on. I got to fill out the top here. I've got to add more stuff here, but it's shaping up to be something pretty cool. Um, I also have. I'm not sure where that should be, but I think it's the clubhouse. Yep, that goes there. I also have started the props for the 3 main archery games that I've come up with so far. Again, just like the mini games, these things are going to be iterated on and improved, but I at least have a general idea that I can kind of start toying with. The first one is going to be simple, and you'll be locked in place here. The camera, obviously this is in Blender, so it's going to look a little different in Unity, but the goal here, this one is about accuracy and speed. You'll have a minute probably, or 30 seconds, I'm not sure. And this target is going to move from here to here to here to here, back and forth while it spins. And you'll get like, I don't know, 10 points for these small ones, 1 point for the big one, something like that. And you'll have X amount of time to score as many points as you can, and you'll have unlimited arrows to do it. The next one is going to be all about accuracy, and the goal is to, I don't know if I'm going to have them knock down or have some cool particle effect every time they're hit, or I don't know, shoot flaming arrows and they catch on fire or something like that, but where you have to hit all 6 targets, and it's all about accuracy and timing. So I guess timing. The faster you can hit it down, the better your score will be. Or it might just be based on the time. So if it takes you 10 seconds to lose 6 arrows and knock down 6 targets, then your score is whatever your time is. Something like that. I haven't kind of figured that one out yet, but it's at least an option that's more based on accuracy than the other one where it's just kind of like getting as many arrows down range as you can. The last one is a little different, and I'm still fleshing this out, but I want to be able to test like the power of your bow, because right now we have accuracy and speed, and another big component in one of the qualities of your bow is going to be the power based on your draw weight and just the general construction of the bow. But right now, my kind of goofy thought is your score will be based on how far you push this target back. So when the arrow hits, it's going to compress the spring, and then however far the spring compresses will factor in, or it'll be the total amount of points. And I have this little primitive scoreboard up here, which I'll probably just put text over for now. Because like I said, it's going to be somewhat fantasy-like, so there can be a giant spring and a visual scoreboard in medieval times. I'm not too worried about it. But that's kind of the only thing I can come up with right now for power that I can easily measure. I would have to really dive into Unity physics to where I could do something like a row of like 10 shields, and it's how many shields your arrow can penetrate before it stops. And then your score is however many shields you go through. I would like to do something like that, but the problem is I have no idea if Unity's built-in physics engine and rigid bodies and all that stuff is robust enough to do that. I don't think I am knowledgeable enough at this point to write my own physics for that. I suppose I could probably simulate it where there's actually not a physics calculation. It just takes in the speed of the arrow as it's fired, and then the speed determines how many shields it goes through, and then I just kind of animate that somehow. Either way, it would be super tricky, and it's not something I'm currently that I know of capable of doing, and I've got so many other things I've got to work on. So I figured this is a much simpler starting point, and I can change it later on. But I've got some stuff done. I've got just barrels and tables, and I've got these flags, so there's a red team and a blue team. Right now, this is just a single player game. I don't know anything about making multiplayer games, so this will just be a computer, which is a whole nother task I'm gonna have to figure out. But again, that's way later on. Right now, you'll just come in and play the 3 games, but I've got to figure out like a crowd system or even just instancing people up there so it's not empty. But there's like chests and barrels and cans and sconces for torches, and I've got to do like the clubhouse kind of thing with seats and like the king. I definitely do want a king, even the crowd is pretty bare bones. I'd like to have like the king and queen and like a jester kind of thing up here watching, so they would need a throne and seats and all kinds of stuff, and probably figure out stairs or something for how they get up there. But at least I have it laid out to where I think it'll be pretty cool. And like the player will enter from here. Right now it's just a black hole. But I'm liking how it's turning out so far, and I've got a lot more work to do with it, but it's been fun making it. So back in Unity, some of the other stuff I've been working on is, for example, like I've been playing around with volumes. I don't know why it's not letting me zoom, so I'll just play it. I've been playing around with volumes to where I can kind of start experimenting with different environments and different lighting and kind of things that make the game a little bit more aesthetically pleasing. But like as you can see, you go into a forest and things get darker. It's just a very basic test of it. This whole thing is just a testing ground for me, playing around with it before I finally dive into the actual map. But I really like how this area is turning out. The grass, the bushes, the rocks. It's a pine forest. I've added pine trees, and then like a maple tree. So this is kind of how I think I want the wilderness to be. Is the oh, I gotta change the UI placement of that. But anyways, where you're walking through a forest and the majority of the trees are like pine or non-suitable bow woods, to where you can. It's rare to find a good tree like this, like a maple tree or a hickory tree, or I have red cedar in here and Osage orange as well. That way it's not just a forest full of trees and you can just walk 10 feet and cut down whatever tree you want. Like I want you to actually have to find the tree. And as you're looking for the tree you like, I want to be able to populate the world with like ruins or other animals or stuff that just makes it a little bit more. It gives you more incentive to explore and not just cut down the first tree you find and not just keep going back to the same place. So I've gotten a little forest area there. I've got a little pond area over here. I found a water shader I like, so I've got that placed in here. Kind of tweaked the archery settings a little bit. I don't have my crosshair enabled. I was testing something with that. Turn the crosshair back on. But to where the animation is a little bit slowed down. I still have to animate the arrow being drawn back, but I also figured out a couple little physics issues to where it, I've got to adjust the collider on this, but to where the arrows stop going through things if they're fired too fast. Deer is still coming along, he's just moseying around, but I've tried and failed collision detection. Right now he just stops animating and still glitches through the tree. I've kind of taken a break from that because it was frustrating me. But I've done a bunch of little things to this. The big thing that I want to talk about is inventory. So, well, there's 2 sticks in this, but I now have a basic inventory that I like that you can drag and drop between things. And then I have no idea what my character's spinning. I have to figure that out. But up top, you can only equip a bow and a quiver in here, and the rest you can put whatever you want. And that took some doing. I'll shout out the tutorial probably in the next video when I have the inventory finished. I can't remember the guy's name off the top of my head, but it was insanely helpful. I found a UI that I like. I just crudely drew like a leather skin that I imagine will be like wrapped up like that. And then you unwrap it. It's got all your stuff in it. And then your hotbars down here. So let's say you pick up stick, and an axe. And let's move the axe here, stick here. You can swap things. Technically, these should be stackable, but I haven't figured out why certain things don't stack. However, if you pick up 2 random sticks, they stack, so it's probably a database issue. But as you can see, you can swap items, and it still doesn't go in the slots it's not supposed to. But you can move them around. So you'll have 5, 13 slots, because I don't want this to become something like Minecraft where there's a boatload of useless stuff that you could use. Like, I want everything to have a nice use and to feel important. So as a result, I don't want you to just hoard items. I want you to find things that you like and actually use them and keep them and make them important. So I've gotten some stuff done. Work's been a little busy, so I haven't had as much free time, but things are coming together. I'm happy with how things are turning out. I've got so much more work ahead of me, but having this inventory at least semi-functional has been a huge burden off my shoulders, because I was really struggling with that. And they're all based on scriptable objects, so I can assign, oops, wrong one. I can assign all kinds of stuff to the objects quality, the species, which is something I want transferred through all wood objects. For the bow, we draw weight, the arrow speed, the accuracy, and the damage. So I've got a good amount of flexibility with this. So little things here and there as I just find things to chip away at, but the majority of my time has gone into making this functional. And so I've had to take quite a few breaks from that because it's been mind-numbing trying to figure it all out. But yeah, so that's the extent of this week's video. Sorry there's not more to it, but appreciate you guys watching anyways. Thanks.